Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel that takes on narcissism and narcissistic relationships and toxic people and situations of all kinds. As always, my hope is that not only will this content help inform you, but also help you heal from the challenges and difficulties raised by these relationships. Many of you know this, but if you don't, I do have a new healing program that focuses specifically on healing above and beyond what we talk about on this YouTube channel. If you're interested in that monthly program, please go to the video notes, click that link, and that really takes this to a whole new level. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe, be a part of this community too. So many people out there learning about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. And then the comments often really show you that you are not alone. Now, today I'm going to take on an issue that I think many of you who've gone through narcissistic relationships are really familiar with, which is, what do you do with the old pictures? In some ways it's sort of like, how do you manage the family albums and the trauma bonds? You almost think there should be a little special section in the family album that takes on those trauma bonds. But let's talk about this, because this is something actually I recently was thinking about and actually grappled with, and then was ironically talked to a bunch of other people who are struggling with exactly the same thing at the same time. So let's break this one down. So those old pictures, right? So I'm going to open this video with a question to all of you. Please, if you want, drop your answers in the comments. If it's totally optional, but I want you to think about it. You might even be in the room you're sitting in. Do you have old pictures of you with a narcissistic person or narcissistic people from your life? Now, these could be any pictures. They might be old wedding pictures, old family pictures, old vacation shots, anything that takes you back to a different time with a narcissistic person in your life. The smiles in those wedding pictures, or those sun-kissed vacation pictures, the picture of you sharing a moment with a narcissistic parent or sibling from childhood, the picture of you with your own child, that night out with a friend, right? All good. These pictures can be really difficult for a person who is a survivor or an experiencer of narcissistic abuse. At one level, we get really confused or even gaslighted when we see these pictures. Was it good? Were we happy? Am I wrong? At another, looking at these pictures can be heartbreaking. Like, how did it go so wrong? Or if it's an adult relationship, how did I not see it? These old pictures can hit us viscerally. Some people may say, I just want to go and hug that little kid I see in that picture. That's me. You want to tell that little you that you're a rock star. You were not to blame for all the invalidating BS that was happening around you by the people in this picture. Now, a big question that people grapple with was this real? Was that smile I had in the picture real? Did we actually have a good day? Was I happy on my wedding day or birthday or on that trip to Paris? That might be the most confusing part of all. When we doubt our past emotions, we often doubt our current ones too. Then that takes us to another issue. People will then become quite self-invalidating, which is risky. How dumb was I grinning like a Cheshire cat in that picture while I was being abused? What a fool I was. No, you weren't. It begs a bigger question of whether there were good moments or even happiness in the narcissistic relationship. The pictures seem to suggest that at least at those moments we were. And some of this does relate to the nature of the relationship. So if we really go back into childhood, if you do have childhood pictures and look at them, you may have been laughing or being silly, maybe sitting next to your narcissistically abusive parent. Both of you are smiling or laughing. Alternately, if you're a parent, you may look back at the childhood pictures of your own child and see them happy and smiling. And yet now they are angry and surly and perhaps even narcissistically abusive as an adult child. And you wonder, were we happy? And looking at these old pictures teaches us why narcissistic abuse is not only so painful and confusing, but also promotes self-gaslighting. When we look at those old pictures, we are reminded that there were some good days, good moments, We may look back at the pictures of a picnic on a summer day or a birthday cake and remember, that was a good day. A parent got it right on that day. We did laugh. We were happy. My sibling and I did make that sandcastle together, and we did laugh. Those days confused you. They still do. They become the cognitive dissonance. The happy days keep us in and keep us fighting. And as children, they kept us justifying. A primal part of us knew that something wasn't right. But those good days, especially for a child, those good moments, or even just plain hope, kept us justifying as children with all of our hearts. But those pictures also remind us that we got quite good at adjusting to the distortion of a narcissistically abusive life and of smiling through the pain. Maybe the picture teller told us to smile big, and we did. And those pictures may even get weaponized down the road with family members or other people telling you, well, it couldn't have been that bad. You were always smiling in the pictures. But you may have been smiling just to try to please that narcissistic parent. These old pictures can affect us similarly when we see them from adult pictures. We see the vacation pictures, we see the kiss at midnight, the wedding, the honeymoon, the engagement, and say, I think I was happy that day, but what was wrong with me? It's all a lie. Oh, nothing was wrong with you. Unfortunately, or fortunately, our narratives can really drive our moods and our sense of joy. That day, when a charming and charismatic person shared a beautiful day with you, it was a good day. So you smiled. Then that smile, and lots of smiles over time, became a justification for the bad behavior on the other days. Many, many survivors of narcissistic abuse will look back at old pictures from a place of grief, what they hoped would be, what wasn't, what isn't, and how hard they tried to smile through it all and believe and hope. The pictures end up being painful documentation of a painful time that was interspersed with all these smiles. We don't tend to have as many pictures of the bad days, do we? We don't have pictures of the tears or the angry face or any home movies of a narcissistic person raging. We tend to just have the ones of birthday candles being blown out. The pictures sort of act like a cherry picking of the good moments. And that is why they are so painful and confusing in these narcissistic relationships. The pictures are the ultimate reminder and teacher of cognitive dissonance as well, because the paradox and the struggle of the narcissistic relationship is that the bad days are interspersed with good, the good days with bad. Just as we get our mojo back and think, no way, no more, I am out of this relationship, there's a good day. Just when we let the hope get the best of us and we exhale and we believe the relationship has changed, bam, everything goes back to being a gaslighted, manipulated space. In if narcissistic relationships were always this bad, it would be easier. And the pictures remind us, though, unfortunately, of the good days. And even years down the line, those pictures can really cement the dissonance we had and we have. People looking at family pictures from 30, 40 years ago will say, I don't know, I look happy. Maybe they weren't that bad. Maybe I am making too big a deal of this. And that results in many people doubting their own pain and doubting their experience. So strangely, the pictures can almost be a little bit psychologically dangerous. Something I cherish as a therapist is when clients bring in childhood photos or old relationship photos or videos. It actually is a great way to protect the client as they look at those images, to help them create the complex tightrope of contextualizing those smiles and those good days against the context of narcissistic abuse, to help my clients try to tolerate the puzzle pieces that don't quite fit. Perhaps looking at those pictures when you are alone is not a good idea for most people. Ideally, maybe doing it with a therapist or a trusted empathic friend may be a way to talk it out loud so you don't get more confused. Trauma bonds are strengthened by, well, I guess, the sort of psychiatric Pilates, a back and forth alternation between good and bad, hope and despair that sort of strengthen the muscle. The old pictures often bring those trauma bonded patterns to light, remind us why we're so confused. Now, some folks put the pictures in a vault and they never look at them again. Some people entirely destroy the pictures. Some people harness them in the name of therapy, and some folks keep the pictures around, feeling that they don't want to lose those memories and to save them as a part of their history, and yet struggle with that history too. Only you know what feels right for you, but I am here to tell you that the grief evoked by these images for folks who have or who are going through narcissistic abuse is very, very real. So again, those pictures, especially if you go someplace you haven't been, and then you look up and you see a picture of you with somebody narcissistic from your family or a friend or something like that, can really hit you here. You'll often find yourself studying it, wondering, who was that? Who was I? And was I happy? It can really remind us how complicated these relationships were, that there were good moments, and that often acted to confuse us in the middle of all of the difficult things going on in a toxic or a narcissistic relationship. Thanks again.